What if the most dangerous people in a narcissist's orbit aren't the ones who shout, threaten, or demand, but the ones who smile, listen, and promise to keep the peace? Before you let your guard down, hear this. Inside the narcissistic family system, there are 4 familiar roles that will cost you your sanity if you trust them. Not because you are unworthy of trust, but because those roles exist to protect the narcissist's myth, not your reality. Consider this a warning label for your heart. Do not hand your truth to people whose job is to carry it back to the person who will weaponize it. First, understand the stage you're standing on. A narcissistic family isn't a gathering of individuals. It's a survival machine. Every part is assigned a job that preserves the image maker at the center. Some carry the praise, some carry the blame, some carry the secrets, and some carry the news. If you keep asking, why won't the facts change anything? It's because truth is irrelevant in a theater designed for performance. The more you push for accountability, the more the machine searches for routes around accountability. Your logic threatens its oxygen appearance, and the whole system rushes to seal the leak. The first role you must never confide in is the courier of the narcissist, the flying monkey. They rarely arrive with a snarl. They arrive with a soft chair and a soft tone. They ask how you're holding up. They nod in all the right places. They just want to understand. What they want is inventory, your tears, your fears, your timeline wrapped neatly for delivery. Sometimes they don't even know they're functioning as a pipeline. They believe they're mediating, keeping everyone informed, preventing misunderstandings. In reality, they monitor your temperature and report your vitals back to command. Flying monkeys are addictive because they feel like relief in a drought. Someone finally gets it. You exhale, you overshare, then the blowback arrives with your own words, rearranged like knives. That isn't a coincidence. It's a circuit. The remedy is radical containment. Keep conversations bland and brief. Do not correct their version of events. They aren't seeking accuracy, they're seeking material. Master the gray rock. Neutral tone, neutral face, neutral facts. You are not cold. You are safe. You're not withholding. You're protecting what the narcissistic economy steals, your clarity. The second role that will break your heart if you trust it, the golden child. People imagine the golden child as cruel. Often they're not. They're devoted. Their devotion is the danger. Since childhood, they've been rewarded for mirroring the narcissist's perfection project. They learned that belonging equals agreement, and love equals obedience. They protect the brand with religious fervor. When you present evidence of harm, they experience it not as information, but as blasphemy. You're not contradicting a parent. In their mind, you're threatening the altar that gives them worth. Don't mistake proximity for insight. The golden child grew up in the same house, but not in the same reality. Where you met contempt, they met praise. Where you were scrutinized, they were celebrated. That divergence creates moral nearsightedness. They cannot see what never served them to see. If you try to recruit them as an ally, you will be framed as a threat. It's not because you're wrong. It's because you're asking them to lose the only version of safety they know. Offer them space, not persuasion. You don't have to set yourself on fire to light their path out of denial. Third, the enabler, the peacemaker, whose peace is purchased by your silence. This role speaks in soothing slogans. Let's not make a scene. It's just how they are. Family is everything. Translation: don't surface anything that forces us to feel. The enabler's priority is temperature, not truth. If the room is quiet, they declare victory. even if someone is quietly bleeding. Confide in them and your pain will be filed under too disruptive. You will be nudged toward forgiveness as a shortcut to comfort, not as a doorway to justice. The enabler is dangerous precisely because they appear kind. They bring casseroles. They remember birthdays. They call after arguments. But emotional first aid without moral clarity keeps you injured. Notice the pattern. They ask you to give one more chance, one more explanation, one more compromise, always one more. Meanwhile, the narcissist's behavior never requires change, only understanding. This is not peacekeeping. It's damage control for an image. Your antidote is boundaries with no sermon attached. No is a complete sentence. I'm not available for that is a complete paragraph. Fourth, and perhaps the most confusing, the wounded ally who hasn't healed. This is the sibling, cousin, or parent who was also targeted, also minimized, also hurt. You recognize yourself in their stories, and for a while the company feels like medicine. But unhealed injuries recruit old strategies: jealousy, triangulation, crisis-making, addictive drama. If their identity is built around being the one who was wronged, your growth will feel like theft. You did not betray them. You outgrew the role. Still, your rising threatens the gravity that keeps their world familiar. Shared pain is not the same as shared values. Ask 2 questions to protect yourself. Do our conversations end with action or with adrenaline? And do we bond over what we're building or only over what we're breaking? If it's always the latter, step back with compassion. You're not abandoning them. You're refusing to be recruited by the past. You can love someone and still decline the invitation to bleed in the same places forever. Compassion without access is still compassion. Here's the deeper lens underneath all 4 roles. In a narcissistic family, loyalty is traded like currency. But the exchange rate is brutal. Loyalty buys proximity, not safety. It buys belonging, not love. It buys silence, not respect. When you realize that, grief arrives. Grieve the family you wanted. Grieve the conversations you'll never have. Grieve the apology that won't come. Grieve and then choose. Because the boundary you build is the first honest thing that system has seen in years. So what does choosing yourself look like in practice? Start with information hygiene. Stop handing out access. No more timelines. No more screenshots. No more post-mortems after every argument. If a topic needs to be communicated for legal or logistical reasons, do it in writing and keep it transactional. Document facts. Edit feelings. Think of your energy like a password. Stop auto-filling it on every device. Next, build a small circle outside the family system. 2 or 3 people who know how to hold truth without turning it into a story about them. If you don't have those people yet, start with a journal and a therapist or support group. Many survivors mistake intensity for intimacy. Real safety is boring in the best way. Predictable, consistent, drama-free. Boredom is the nervous system's word for peace the first time you meet it. Then change your reflex from explanation to exit. You don't have to debate to deserve boundaries. When the flying monkey arrives with concerns, respond with a polite cliff. I'm not discussing that. When the golden child accuses you of being dramatic, answer with a shrug. We see it differently. When the enabler whispers, can't we just move on? Say, I already have, and move your feet. When the wounded ally starts the familiar spiral, name the pattern and choose a different ending. I care about you and I'm not going back into the storm. Expect consequences. Healthy distance will get mislabeled as cruelty. Silence will be called manipulation. Boundaries will be framed as disloyalty. They are wrong and it will still sting. That's why you need rituals that anchor you when the old guilt tries to reclaim your spine. Sleep, water, movement, sunlight. A list of reasons you left, kept on your phone for the nights you forget. And admit the most human truth: you will miss what hurt you. Familiarity is powerful. Missing is not a summons. It is a symptom of leaving the familiar. 2 final cautions. First, beware the last conversation. The urge to stage one definitive summit meeting with the enabler, the golden child, the monkey, or the wounded ally, to once and for all set the record straight, is a trap. You're seeking closure in a place that never opened. Closure is not something they give. It is something you create by refusing to rehearse the same scene. Second, don't let the system convince you that leaving equals hate. Distance can be the most honest version of love available, the kind that stops both parties from doing further harm. If you're thinking, but it's family, remember, family is not an argument against self-respect. Family is an argument for it. The next generation is watching. Every time you normalize cruelty to preserve an image, you write a script they will have to unlearn at great cost. Every time you model boundaries, you teach them that love and clarity can live in the same sentence. You are not just protecting your own life. You are building a different future inheritance, one made of truth. Here's the summary to carry with you. Do not trust the collector of secrets, the guardian of the myth, the protector of comfort, or the comrade who still bleeds without tending their wound. Do not hand your story to people who profit from its distortion. Keep your voice. Keep your peace. Keep your plan. The narcissistic family system will call that betrayal. Healthy systems call it adulthood. You are allowed to build a table where the invitations do not require you to shrink. You are allowed to create a holiday where quiet is genuine, not enforced. You are allowed to answer the phone less, to block numbers, to decline visits, to send short emails, to leave early, to stay home, to choose joy. You are allowed to become the kind of ancestor who tells the truth by how you live, not by how loudly you explain. And you are allowed today, not someday, to stop trusting the roles that were never designed for your well-being. If no one has told you this yet, let me be the first. You are not difficult for wanting decency. You are not cold for wanting quiet. You are not selfish for wanting safety. You are not cruel for protecting your mind. You are honest for refusing to applaud a performance that requires your disappearance. That is not disloyal. That is holy. Walk forward. Let the machine sputter without your participation. Let the masks adjust themselves for an audience that is no longer you. The freedom you're seeking is not out there in their approval. It is here, in the decision to treat your well-being as non-negotiable. When you stop trusting the 4 roles that keep the myth alive, the myth begins to starve. And when it starves, something else appears that the system could never deliver. A life that does not ask you to abandon yourself to belong. Choose that life. Guard it fiercely, and let anyone who demands your silence mistake your steadiness for distance. You know what it really is. The sound of your soul closing the door gently, locking it, and turning toward a future where peace is not a favor someone grants you, but a practice you grant yourself. Every single day, practical red flags to spot each role quickly. Flying monkey red flags, they ask for your side, and then repeat the narcissist's phrasing verbatim. They rush you toward group talks you didn't agree to. Golden child red flags, borrowed certainty. Actually, you just need to... They view boundaries as defects. Post perfect family photos after holidays that ended in panic. And fact-check your memories, but never the parents' mythology. Enabler red flags. Guilt like cologne, subtle, constant. Apologies about tone, not harm. Allergic to specifics. Let's move on. Let's start fresh, which really means let's keep the pattern. Wounded ally, red flags. Energized by chaos, bored by calm. Pull you close when they're hurting, push you away when you're healing. If your wins become their silence, you're not in community. You're in a reenactment. What to say instead of oversharing? To a flying monkey, I'm not discussing private matters. To the golden child, we can see it differently and still keep distance. To the enabler, peace that requires silence isn't peace. To the wounded ally, if we're talking solutions, I'm here. If obligation keeps you on the hook, remember, you were trained to rescue the very people who would not rescue you. The exit isn't a heroic speech. It's boring consistency. Answer less. Reveal less. Leave sooner. Stop explaining. Let the tantrum burn somewhere that isn't your living room. A common pattern. A survivor shares journal pages with a concerned relative. Days later, the abuser quotes those pages during a rage call. The relative suggests a group dinner to clear the air. Translation: deliver the lamb back to the wolf smiling. End the pipeline, logistics only in writing. They will call you cold. You will call it Tuesday and keep your calm recovery blueprint you can adapt. Map the cast. Write the roles next to the names. Clarity beats hope. Choose communication tiers, illegal logistical only. Be brief and bland. See safe people. No crossovers. Script your exits. 3 sentences you can use while stressed. Rehearse, build a calm kit. Grounding tools, a route for a walk, 2 supportive contacts. Pre-grieve events. Predict, plan, protect. Track your nervous system. Your body's dashboard won't lie. Celebrate boring wins. A message you didn't return, a visit you ended on time. Some survivors whisper, "What if I'm wrong about someone?" Then your boundary was still appropriate. Trust can expand. Damage is harder to undo. Isn't no contact extreme? So is losing years to chaos. Distance is a dial. Set yours. What if they turn the whole family against me? Let them borrow each other. You borrow your future. If you're parenting while disentangling, double your boundaries around information. Don't involve children in adult dynamics. Use neutral child-centered language. Decline surprise visits. No unsupervised access for anyone who ignores your rules. Hire calm. Don't recruit chaos. You may feel like a traitor because in systems like these, your role was your passport. Refusing the role cancels the visa. Expect new labels. Selfish, cold, unforgiving. Learn to translate. Selfish mode, you stopped self-abandoning. Cold siwiske, you stopped performing warmth while being burned. Unforgiving, you're done subsidizing harm. And when a small voice whispers, "Maybe I'm overreacting," ask, is this environment safe for a child who tells the truth? If not, the adult in you is right to leave. There is a future with room. Meals that end without tears, conversations without referees, holidays that aren't auditions, 8 hours of sleep. The currency of that future is tiny daily choices that honor your nervous system over their narrative. 10 minutes of quiet, 1 ignored bait, 1 boundary kept when nobody is clapping. That's how you become someone you trust, because you keep promises to yourself. One last reminder, you do not need a courtroom's verdict to authorize your boundary. You are the witness, the judge, and the guardian of your life. Keep records for yourself, not to convince the unconvinced. Build rituals of safety you can return to on hard days. tea, a bench in the sun, a friend who answers on the second ring. Healing rarely feels heroic. Most days it feels ordinary. That's the point. Ordinary is what chaos stole. Claim it back and guard it like a treasure, because that quiet is proof you chose yourself over the performance. Truly,